It was an unusually quiet morning in downtown Los Angeles, the sky overcast and the streets damp from the light drizzle that had fallen earlier. Elon Musk, clad in a plain gray hoodie and jeans, walked briskly with his hands in his pockets, trying to enjoy a rare day without meetings, emails, or the constant buzzing of innovation that defined his life. The city hummed around him, oblivious to his presence, which was exactly what he wanted. Just for a few hours, to blend in, to observe. As he passed by a graffiti-covered wall near an old diner, something made him stop. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed a figure slumped beside a trash bin, barely shielded from the wind. It was a man, filthy, bearded, and dressed in what could barely be called clothes, a tattered jacket with stuffing poking out of the seams, pants soaked near the cuffs, and worn-out sneakers that didn't match. His face was weathered, the kind of tired that years of hardship carved into a person. Elon stood for a moment, watching. The man didn't beg or speak. He just stared down at his own hands, which were calloused and trembling. Something about the stillness in his eyes struck Elon. This wasn't just another homeless person looking for spare change. There was a heaviness to him, a weight behind his silence. Elon took a step forward, then another, until he stood directly in front of the man. The man looked up slowly, eyes narrowing against the light. Elon knelt slightly to meet his gaze. "Hey," he said softly. The man blinked, surprised. "You okay?" The man gave a half shrug, unsure whether to respond. Elon waited. Finally, the man spoke, his voice rough and low. "Do I look okay to you?" Elon didn't smile, didn't try to offer false comfort. He just nodded. "No, you don't. That's why I'm asking." There was a pause. The man looked away, clearly uncomfortable. "I don't need anything," he muttered. Elon tilted his head. "What's your name?" The man hesitated. "Daniel," he said eventually. "All right, Daniel," Elon replied, his voice calm. "I'm Elon." Daniel squinted. "Elon? Like the car guy?" Elon nodded, not making a big deal of it. Daniel huffed a dry, humorless laugh. "Yeah, right. What's next? Jeff Bezos gonna show up with a sandwich?" "No sandwiches," Elon replied, pulling his hands from his pockets. "Just curious what happened. You don't look like someone who's always lived out here." Daniel looked away again, jaw clenching. "Life happened. Job vanished. Bills stacked up. Wife left. Friends stopped calling. Then one day, you realize you're sleeping behind a dumpster and nobody gives a damn." His voice cracked, but he looked back at Elon, eyes hard. "You satisfied?" Elon didn't flinch. "No. I'm not." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Why do you care?" Elon looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because I've seen what happens when people give up on each other. And I don't think anyone's beyond help. Not if they don't want to be." Daniel scoffed, though there wasn't much conviction behind it. "You sound like someone who's never had to sleep with rats near your head." Elon sat down beside him, on the cold, damp concrete, ignoring the grime. Daniel stared in disbelief. "What are you doing?" "Listening," Elon said simply. "If you want to talk." For a moment, it seemed like Daniel would tell him to screw off. But then, something shifted in his expression. The walls in his eyes cracked just a bit. "You really want to know?" he asked quietly. Elon nodded. And so Daniel spoke. He told him about the job he lost as a mechanic at a small auto shop that closed down during a recession. About how he tried to freelance but couldn't get steady work. About the eviction notice that came after 3 months of missed rent. About selling everything he had to buy food and still running out. About the nights he spent in his car, then under bridges, and eventually just on the streets. He didn't cry. He didn't dramatize. He just told it straight, like a man who had nothing left to hide. Elon listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable. When Daniel finished, there was a long silence between them. Then Island asked. If you had a second chance, what would you do? Daniel looked at him like he was insane. A second chance? Man, that's not how the world works. You don't just get do-overs. Maybe not usually, Island said, standing up. But sometimes. You do. Daniel watched him, confused. Island reached into his back pocket and pulled out a sleek, black wallet. He opened it and took out a few crisp bills, more than just a few dollars. More like a few hundred. What's this? Daniel asked warily. It's just a start, Island replied. Come with me. Let's get you cleaned up. New clothes. A hot meal. If you're serious about wanting a second chance, maybe I can help. Daniel stared at the money like it was something he couldn't quite believe was real. His fingers trembled as he took it. You're not messing with me? He asked. No games? No games, Island said firmly. But it's up to you. You want to stay here, I won't stop you. But if you're ready to try again, let's go. Daniel looked down at the cash in his hand, then up at Island. Something behind his tired eyes flickered, hope, or maybe fear of it. Either way, he stood. All right, he said, almost under his breath. All right. Let's see where this goes. They began walking down the sidewalk together, side by side. A billionaire and a homeless man. No cameras. No fanfare. Just two strangers bound by a moment of compassion, heading into the unknown. Daniel followed Island through the buzzing streets of Los Angeles, still trying to process what was happening. He kept looking over his shoulder, half expecting someone to stop them or tell him this was some kind of elaborate prank. But Island walked calmly, with quiet purpose, and didn't seem interested in attention. They reached a sleek, black SUV parked discreetly on a side street. Island unlocked it with a quick tap on his phone and gestured for Daniel to get in. Daniel hesitated, eyeing the pristine leather interior like it was sacred ground. You sure? He asked. Island gave a small smile. It's just a car, Daniel. You've probably worked on more complicated engines than this one. That made Daniel chuckle a little as he slid into the passenger seat. The warmth of the car wrapped around him like a blanket, and he exhaled slowly. For the first time in months, he felt human again. Island drove them a few blocks to a large shopping center, not flashy but clean and well-stocked. They entered together, drawing a few stares, one of the world's most famous men walking beside a man who looked like he just crawled out of an alley. But Island didn't flinch, didn't explain. He picked a clothing store with good quality basics and walked Daniel to the men's section. Pick out whatever you need. Don't worry about the price, Island said. Daniel stared at the shelves, overwhelmed. His hands hovered over a dark hoodie, then a pair of sturdy jeans. I don't even know my size anymore, he mumbled. Island found a store assistant and quietly arranged for Daniel to get measured and helped. The assistant, to his credit, didn't bat an eye. Within 20 minutes, Daniel had a few full outfits: jeans, shirts, clean socks, underwear, a pair of waterproof boots, and a warm jacket. He stood in the changing room staring at himself in the mirror, barely recognizing the reflection. The beard still gave him away, and his face bore the signs of long suffering, but there was something else there now: possibility. Island waited by the register, chatting with the cashier about local coffee shops while Daniel paid with a gift card Island had handed him. Next, they went to a nearby grooming center, a place that offered hot showers, shaves, and haircuts. It wasn't a fancy spa, but it was clean and kind. Island covered the cost and waited while Daniel showered, letting the hot water rinse away months of dirt and pain. When he emerged, freshly shaven, hair trimmed, and wearing his new clothes, he looked like a different man. Not polished, not glamorous, but whole. You look like someone I could hire, Island said, half joking. Daniel gave a half smile. You wouldn't want me. I'm rusty. Out of the game. Try me, Island replied, leading him back to the SUV. As they drove through the city, Island told him where they were going. I want to show you something. It's where I spend most of my time. Thought it might interest you. Daniel listened as they turned onto the freeway and headed toward the Tesla factory. He didn't say much, but his hands fidgeted in his lap, and his eyes flicked to the cityscape passing outside. Why me? He finally asked. There's thousands of people out there like me. Why stop for me? Island considered the question. Because you didn't ask. You weren't looking for pity. You were just surviving. And I believe people like you, who haven't lost their fire, even if it's buried deep, can still do incredible things. Daniel sat with that thought, unsure how to respond. When they pulled up to the Tesla Gigafactory's security gate, the guards immediately recognized the vehicle and waved them through. Daniel stared out the window at the sprawling facility, massive warehouses, rows of solar panels, robots moving like dancers on a stage of innovation. This place is like something out of a sci-fi movie, he muttered. It kind of is, Island replied, grinning. They stepped out of the vehicle and entered through a private entrance. The hum of machinery and the smell of metal and electricity filled the air. Engineers in lab coats walked briskly, carrying tablets and discussing software updates. The whole place buzzed with purpose. Daniel trailed behind Island, trying not to stare, but it was impossible not to. Every wall, every corner, every hum of the robotic arms felt like a dream from a life he no longer belonged to. Island led him to one of the auto assembly lines, where a group of workers were inspecting the frame of a new Model Y. Ever worked on something like this? Island asked. Daniel stepped forward cautiously, scanning the machinery. Not exactly this. But I used to work on custom restorations. Old Corvettes. Muscle cars. Stuff like that. I know my way around a transmission. One of the engineers overheard and looked up. He know his stuff? He asked Island casually. We're a little short-staffed on diagnostics today. We'll see, Island replied, looking at Daniel. Want to take a look? Daniel hesitated, then nodded. He approached the car frame slowly, reverently, like it might vanish if he moved too fast. He crouched down, eyes narrowing as he examined the alignment of the suspension. You've got a slight deviation on the rear left shock. Nothing major, but enough to wear the tire wrong after a few hundred miles, he said without thinking. The engineer raised his eyebrows and checked his tablet. Huh. He's right. We missed that. Island smiled slightly. Not bad for someone who says he's rusty. Daniel straightened up, a strange feeling settling in his chest. Pride. Confidence. Things he hadn't felt in years. Maybe I still got it, he muttered. Island clapped a hand on his shoulder. Daniel, this is just the beginning. If you want a job, we can make that happen. There'll be training, a trial period. Nothing guaranteed. But if you show up, if you work hard, you'll have a shot. Daniel's throat tightened. He swallowed hard. You're serious? Always, Island said. You start as a junior tech. Decent pay. Enough to get you a room. Maybe a car down the line. Think you can handle that? Daniel didn't trust himself to speak, so he just nodded. His eyes burned, and he turned away slightly to wipe them. Thank you, he said hoarsely. Don't thank me yet, Island replied. You still gotta earn it. But I believe you can. As the factory buzzed around them, Daniel stood a little taller. He had a future now, fragile and new, but real. And for the first time in a long time, he believed it too. Months passed, and Daniel's life was nothing like it had been before. The first few weeks at Tesla were a blur of learning and getting his bearings. He spent hours at the factory, working on car diagnostics, troubleshooting issues, and learning about the intricate systems that powered the most advanced electric vehicles on the planet. His hands, once stiff from months of neglect, quickly grew accustomed to the precision needed for Tesla's high standards. He didn't just do his job, he excelled. There was something about the hum of the machinery, the sleekness of the cars, the meticulous nature of the work, that reignited the spark within him. Every day, he got a little better. Every day, he understood a little more. Island had kept his word. Daniel had his own apartment now, a modest but cozy place with a view of the city. It wasn't luxurious, but it was his, and it felt like a castle compared to the streets. Tesla's HR department helped him find an affordable apartment, and they even offered a company car, an old Model S that had been used for testing. It wasn't shiny and new, but it was a Tesla. And for Daniel, it was a symbol of everything that had changed in his life. He drove it to work every day, and on weekends he'd take it to the beach, sitting on the sand, watching the waves, just feeling grateful. It wasn't just the material things that changed, his mental state transformed as well. Daniel wasn't constantly worried about where his next meal would come from or whether he'd make it through another cold night. He no longer had to face the shame of his past every morning. He was proud of what he was doing, proud of the work he was contributing to. As the weeks went by, Daniel's performance caught the attention of his superiors. He didn't need reminders to work hard. He didn't need someone looking over his shoulder. He took initiative, fixed problems before they were brought to him, and was always willing to learn new skills. Tesla was a fast-paced environment, but Daniel thrived in it. He wasn't just another cog in the machine, he became a vital part of the team. His ability to spot issues with precision, his attention to detail, and his relentless work ethic made him stand out. It didn't take long before his manager sat him down for a talk. "Daniel, we've been keeping an eye on you. Your work has been exceptional, and we think you're ready for a promotion. We'd like to move you up to senior technician. That comes with a substantial raise and more responsibility." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Senior technician. He hadn't even dreamed of this. The promotion meant more money, more stability, and most importantly, more respect. He had earned it. But as he looked across the table at his manager, he felt the weight of the responsibility that came with the title. He didn't want to let anyone down, not Island, not his team, not himself. He took a deep breath and nodded. "I won't let you down," he said. His manager smiled. "I know you won't." With the promotion came a new office, a larger paycheck, and the opportunity to take on more advanced projects. Daniel's days were filled with designing solutions, overseeing repairs, and mentoring the newer technicians who had just started. But no matter how busy he got, he never forgot the people who had helped him. He made a point of staying humble, of working just as hard as he had when he was still scraping by. He often reached out to Island for advice, and Island, always willing to lend a hand, gave him guidance on managing teams and thinking bigger. "Keep your eyes on the future, Daniel," Island would say. "It's all about innovation, about constantly evolving." Daniel took those words to heart. He started brainstorming ideas for ways Tesla could improve their diagnostic systems, proposing changes that would make the cars even smarter and more efficient. His suggestions were taken seriously, and before long, he was leading a small team dedicated to enhancing Tesla's technology. But the biggest surprise came a few months later, when Island himself called him into his office. Daniel had come a long way. Island had watched it all from a distance, quietly proud of how far he had come. "Daniel," Island began, "you've done more than just learn the ropes here. You've helped drive innovation, and you've shown leadership that most people would kill for. I want to offer you something more. We're looking for someone to head a new initiative. A new project that focuses on the integration of Tesla's AI with real-time diagnostics. It's ambitious, but I believe you're the right person for the job." Daniel was stunned. The job was a huge step up, leading an entire division at Tesla. The salary increase was substantial, and he would have more power to make decisions that could shape the future of the company. I don't know what to say," Daniel stammered. "Say yes," Island replied with a grin. Daniel didn't hesitate. He said yes, and with that decision, his life reached new heights. Within the year, Daniel was not only financially stable but thriving. He had 2 Teslas, one for daily use, the other as a project car he was restoring. His apartment was still modest, but now he had a team of people he mentored, and he was recognized as a leader in the company. He had everything he had once thought was impossible. More importantly, he had self-respect. He had earned it through his hard work, through his commitment to change. One evening, after a long day at work, Daniel found himself sitting in the same car, parked on the beach. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore filled his ears. The ocean was vast, and the sky stretched on forever. He looked at the Tesla badge on the steering wheel, and for a moment, everything felt surreal. He hadn't just gotten a second chance, he had created a new life. The life he had once thought was beyond him. A life full of purpose, respect, and success. His phone buzzed with a message from Elon. "Proud of you, Daniel. Keep pushing the limits." Daniel smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. He had never imagined that a simple act of kindness could have such an impact on his life. Elon had believed in him when no one else did. And now here he was, a success, not just in material terms, but in spirit. He was happy. Truly happy. And it was all because someone had decided, just once, to give him a chance.